Good afternoon and welcome to the final of the Curling Stadium Alberta Curling Series Men's Championship here. My name's Jerry Gertz of Curling Zone, joined by Rory McCusker. Rory, you on the air as well with us here?
I hope so.
So we're going to work through this game here, working out the technology. We've got Karsten Sturmay and Aaron Sluchinski. So Rory's going to keep the pictures going here, and we'll talk through this game. I think right now, just finishing out the first end, both teams playing a pretty open end here. I think I'm slightly delayed on the broadcast, working on getting that problem fixed.
Jerry, can you hear my voice?
And I think there's a mute in scene there. So you want to not have that checked.
Okay.
Yeah, back here again in the game. And it looks like we're back here with proper audio. Rory McCusker on the line as well here, calling this men's championship final of the Alberta Curling Series. First event in Leduc. It's still summertime, Rory.
Yeah, I know. So for the rest of us, curling season does end, and there is a break. Not for you, Jerry. We know that. But
no, it doesn't seem to. So yeah, it's our opening weekend here in Leduc, and we've been rocking and rolling with all kinds of games this weekend. And this is the men's final. Of course, we've got the women's final as well, and James Gordon's running the controls there with Jason Gintner and Mr. Sturmay. I can't remember his name. Karsten and Selena's dad. So Karsten playing in the men's final here against Aaron Sluchinski, his sister. Selena skipping a team against Korea in the women's final. So it's been an interesting weekend here in Leduc. Everybody's getting their legs wet, getting back into action again, and seen a lot of great shots. You know, a team of note, John Epping was playing this weekend, but it seemed like he got everybody's best game every time they stepped on the ice. At one point, Aaron Sluchinski here hit side of the button against 4, I think it was, or it was game over. Sluchinski went on to win the game. And against Warren Cross last night, Cross hit side of the button, full button against a mitt full. So it's everybody's ready. It's ready for 4 years, Rory.
Yeah, you can see just the happy faces on everyone out here as they were warming up. I think everyone's just ready to get going. You spend all summer planning and politicking who's going to play with who and, you know, trying to get sponsorship, all that stuff. But that stuff's over now. Now it's just time to play.
Just trying to keep updated here. Getting some information. Obviously, the place to go to find that information is on Curling Zone. Got scores and everything going on up there. Well, looks like we're still getting caught up on a few things there right now for this event. Yeah, it's been a busy weekend as everybody's getting back into things. The clubs starting to make ice. I know James Gordon in Martinsville has been posting some pictures for our upcoming event there next weekend. A bunch of these teams, I think, are moving on from Leduc here to Martinsville, Saskatchewan, which is about 10 minutes north of Saskatoon there. So looking forward to an exciting week of curling and hoping that every game is going to look like this or better all weekend long. So that's going to be exciting. All right, to the action here into looks like skip stones.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that new Jennifer Jones Zacharias combo unit on the ice in Martinsville. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and every one of their games is going to be available and produced to at least this level. Looking forward. I think CBC is also going to have the coverage of every one of Jones's games. So hoping we can get Devin Haru into spinning that story out into the curling sphere at the same time too.
Awesome.
So one yellow rock in the rings here belonging to Sluchinski. Sturmay with the hammer. 3 stones to come here in the second end after a blank in the first.
Yeah, Sluchinski had a chance at a run back to line 2, maybe get a force going in the first end, but made the half shot, removed Karsten's stone, and Karsten got the blank.
So does want to hit and stay here. You wouldn't want to ever roll out and leave Sluchinski the free draw around the center. Nice little hit and roll there. Pretty good second-hand
roll. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice weight there from Karsten Sturmay, right? Under control, not too heavy. I think that's one of the things that's changed in the last 5-10 years is you see these young teams throwing a lot of those really good downweight shots. That's what the pros always do, and now you're seeing the young teams come up and having those shots in their bag.
Yeah, it's sometimes you just feel comfortable throwing a certain weight, but you know that it's gonna, you have the most likely chance at a better result when you throw that controlled weight, and you can use your sweepers, not so delicate with the point where you hit the rock. But
so here we go. Look at this shot. He is calling the draw here. Balls to the wall, Mr. Aaron Sluchinski.
Well, everyone seems to be on the same page these days about those even ends and the moves that you want to make. So I think everyone's on the same page here. Once someone's scoring, it's game on.
Yeah, and I think some of this too is 5-rock rule, the ability to get deuces back when somebody is playing a little bit defensive against you. So it's the kind of thing, if you can ever steal and get the lead here or get a force, the advantage is huge. So obviously that looks foolish at the end of the day, but the other thing you look at this time of the year, these teams are testing out strategies. They're trying, and they're putting themselves under pressure. So for Aaron, that's the type of shot he might he's more often. Oh, and at the same time, but he's got to learn how to make that shot under these situations too. So definitely a little bit of learning there, but that's the downside of the risk. And now Karsten Sturmay has a draw for 2 here in the second end. Last rock, second end. Edmonton's Karsten Sturmay. Have to verify the lineup here that we've got this weekend. Looks like JD Lind in the house holding the broom. JD is their 5th player this season. Evan Van Amsterdam. I believe that's Kyle Doering as well.
Yes, it is.
But 5-player squad. I know we're missing 1 player that's listed on the lineup there. Curtis Gawler. Sorry, not Evan Van Amsterdam. Glenn Van Ants is the Curtis Gawler and Glenn Van Ants are the front end on this team, with JD Lind as the alternate. He's definitely in the lineup. So, anyways, that's 2 on the board for Karsten Sturmay. I didn't see where that came to rest, but
yep, they swept it right in.
We'll be right back with the third end shortly. Back here with the third end. It's Jerry Gertz and Rory McCusker of Curling Stadium. Exciting new platform that we've been working on now for, we're into season 2. I think next week is technically going to be our official launch. It's been a heck of a lead up with a lot of testing and trying out things, but we're really excited to debut some amazing coverage next weekend in Martinsville.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. Competitive curlers and those who are familiar with that world know that the season is very long. There's lots of events that are played, but maybe close enough to your average curling fan, they only get to see a few events a year. The televised events on CBC, TSN, Sportsnet.
And
I don't think a lot of fans really have a good concept of how much these people are playing. Like it is
Yeah, I agree.
incredible the amount of games that they're stuffing in. So
Yeah, generally the way our sport is covered is like if golf only covered the majors,
sure.
or if Hockey Night in Canada was our only avenue to watch the NHL. You would get feature games and a sprinkling of content throughout the year. But yeah, you look at this weekend here in Leduc, we had two, what was it, 8 women's teams and 10 men's teams. So that's 20, 12, 32, about 40 games ballpark over the course of the weekend. And the vast majority of them have been streamed and available to fans to watch and follow their favorite team. And now when we look at each of these teams have the ability to expect streaming when they show up at an event. Like one of our biggest problems with our sport right now is our young Canadian teams are getting the screw job everywhere. When you go back 10, 15 years ago, the Mike McEwens of the world, the John Eppings of the world, Kevin Cooey's, all these teams developed in the Grand Slams. The Grand Slams were mostly a Canadian shop at the time because that was the teams that realized the value of what the Grand Slams brought. And then eventually what happened is the rest of the world realized that this was a thing, and they all started showing up with Ulsrud and Adine, and now every international team that wants to be the best is showing up at the Grand Slams. So in the past, you had young Canadian teams qualifying for these events. I know one year we had 7 Ontario teams alone in one Grand Slam, and they were all inside the top 25 world rankings at the time. And so, these spots are being filled by international teams. So these young Canadian teams don't ever get this opportunity for exposure and the money and the sponsorship opportunities that come from that. You add in previously those Grand Slams that were development for the Canadian men were 18 teams. And when the women and men ran together, and that now went down to 15 apiece just to fit the games in. Nothing you could do about that. But all of a sudden now this opportunity to compete on arena ice and get the exposure in front of fans so that you can go out and sell a couple dollars in sponsorship, because that's the other problem. All the funding goes to the established teams with money. So what happens is that, they're not the ones who can most efficiently use it. If you gave Tyler Tardy the type of funding that Corey Dropkin or Bruce Mowat got, I bet you Tyler Tardy is just as good as Ross White right now.
Sure.
Those are the 2 guys who were the 2 teams battling it out in juniors. And so it's not a blame thing. You got to give your funding to your best teams, and your best teams are who they are. But our young teams just don't have this opportunity anymore. And the Sturmays and the Sluchinskis of the world really have no hope in qualifying for slams. Little. They're going to get in once in a while. They might get a game if they're lucky. And when you start talking about the Brier and the Scotties, with the way the system is set up, it makes it difficult for teams in these deep provinces to qualify and get that exposure as well. So, our young Canadian teams are being left behind. The women have been left behind forever in this same system. When the Grand Slam started for the women and they started having the opportunity to take advantage of the same thing, the international teams were all coming already. So like when you look at the world rankings on the women's side and you compare it to the men's side, there's a big difference between the number of Canadian teams in the top half of the group.
Yeah.
And we're going to see the same thing on the men's side unless we see a change, because there is no avenue for the Sturmays of the world to go out and play on arena ice and compete and train while Corey Dropkin gets to go do this. While, You take the Swiss teams that are out traveling the world. You take the Japanese and the Korean teams traveling the world. These are all funded teams because they're their country's best teams, and typically they're all young athletes.
So hiding kind of away from view are these pretty deserving heavyweights meeting in events like this, like the finals of
Very good team. Karsten
Yeah.
Sturmay beat Brendan Botcher last year in the final of the Alberta Curling Tour Championship.
So from a fan perspective, maybe I would only see these teams in their 1 or 2 slam games, like you said, even if that's televised. But now we have access to this really competitive environment that is the top end of the tier 2 spectrum playing out before our eyes nearly every weekend. So like from a fan perspective, this access it just broadens the game and the characters, these people that make up these teams that we just love to follow. We love to learn everything about. It's when you talk about your favorite curling team, you're not just talking about how they play and the great shots that they make. You're talking about them as people, the way that they interact with each other, and how they train and condition, what their warm-up looks like. Just all of this content that was once totally hidden from the public view is now coming to light with this curling stadium.
And realistically, we only have even the best teams in our game only get about 20% of their games covered. When you start talking about the Kuis of the world and Epping and Gushu and Dunstone and so on. These are the teams that jump out on tour and grind in a bunch of these events as well. And we want to help make it possible for these teams to tell their story, build a more personable fan base, and grow from there. Like I see, here's a question for you, Rory. Are curling teams as marketable as Canadian junior hockey franchises?
It easily could be, for sure.
Like when you think about the national appeal of the athletes that play on some of these teams, like a Casey Scheidegger at a Lethbridge, I'm certain, a curling fan knows who Casey Scheidegger is, but they couldn't name a Lethbridge Hurricane player. So I think there's real opportunity for teams to take advantage of this and build off of this, and this is what we want to do. We want to help make this possible and build the sandbox for this to work. And from a curling zone perspective, when you look at what we're doing with the website and linking to all the streams and all of that, it just increases all of the traffic. We're adding a ton of news content to this as well, writing stories about the teams to help market and put more focus on the names. At the same time, every time one of these stories is written and people visit and share, we can track the number of page views they get. And this is something teams can then take back to those sponsors and so on. And as we grow this, it can cycle and continue to build upon itself. And all of a sudden, we build the whole sandbox that allows us to market curling from, the elite level with the best teams and the best games, right down onto these B Tour. And you know what? The great thing about these cameras is they're permanent. And the Alberta Junior Curling Tour event that will come through here will be able to be streamed. So it just should open up doors for the entire sport. Beyond this, Leduc's club leagues are already being streamed. We did this all year in Swift Current last year.
Yep.
But if you go to the Leduc Curling Club YouTube channel, we've just got it started, so it's pretty raw yet. Just give us some time. But you'll be able to watch your league games when you play. And one of the problems we get with curling, if you compare it to golf as a sport, golf is easy to market itself. You drive by the golf course, you see the greens, and it looks like a great place for a walk. Whereas the curling club, you could live down the street from a curling club and have no idea what it looks like inside.
Yeah.
And so from a club perspective, when you stream club games, it's not about the number of views you get. You know what? We're expecting 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 views a game kind of thing. You know what? It's really only relevant to the people on the ice and maybe some family members. But for the handful of people that do share that to their Facebook and their Twitter every night they play, it just puts curling into the social media atmosphere and
Absolutely.
makes us part of the game. And that's really what it's all about these days.
It gives you something to be proud of as well. Let's say you're a club curler and you want to start taking this more seriously. You're at an athletic age, you're university aged, and you want to start making curling your number one sport.
Yeah, it's the fun factor. Like,
so
think
you
about
go to soccer.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you play soccer or football, all these, what might be considered more major sports. Well, at your curling game, you can watch back your slides, see what kind of tendencies you're in, share notes with your skip, text them, hey, this shot you had in 6, like, what if we would have done this and this? And having that visual aid as well, you can self-coach a little more seriously.
Well, this is
create
where
more serious athletes.
So from a coaching perspective, when all your games are available, now you don't have to pay for a coach to travel with you everywhere.
That's what Joan was talking about. Yeah, she sees that as a major advantage. And
when you are a coach, you now are able to offer your services for a reasonable price. Because at the end of the day, to travel another player with you to all your events, you're looking at a 20%, 25% cost factor, right? For what you're already spending. And that doesn't even pay them a salary.
Yeah. So as you and I were yammering off here, Sturmay makes a major mistake raising an opposition stone into the rings to create a situation where he might give up 3 here. Definitely the wrong way to miss that shot. Just looked really light and inside out of his hand, and nothing the sweepers could do to save it.
So this is first of the skip stones, Aaron Sluchinski.
Yeah.
So new 3 of 3 of this team remained from last year. They actually attempted to make it a go as a true 3-player team. And they had a little bit of success and so on, but the opportunity to add Jeremy Hardy to the lineup, I think, was worth it to them. So Jeremy Hardy had his breakout year in the 2020 pandemic season there in the fall. I think he beat Botcher Cooey twice, Botcher once, and was really looking like they were going to have a breakout. I think, unfortunately for them, the pandemic sort of stunted that a little bit, and they lost that momentum. And last season was just not the year that they had hoped. So that team went their separate ways after a long time together.
Now, we can't hear the players on the ice, but they appeared to be signaling that they thought this triple might be there with the Yellowstone in the top 12-foot spinning out the side after contact.
Don't be afraid to use the split screen here, Rory. Throw the split screen on.
Ah!
Oh, there you go.
So he gets 2 of them.
Good damage control after the mistake on the first one. Cleaning up the mess.
Thought you meant by me.
Well, you got there too.
All right. Will be a draw to get his deuce back here.
So yeah, it's we're excited about launching this off and trying to figure out how the model works. Like, I think some of it is figuring out how to work with these teams and help these teams do this and sell this in a way they haven't before, and see if we can make this a more viable game for these young teams.
Pretty hard sweep right away here.
You got Dylan Webster and Kerr Drummond on the sweep.
So Aaron did miss a draw light in the first end. Looks like it's got enough juice. Not pretty, but that's a 2.
On to the front. So yeah, 2 for Aaron Sluchinski of Calgary. Ties this up 2-2 now, heading to the 4th end.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
And we're back here inside the Leduc Recreation Center, I believe it's called. Leduc, Alberta, about, 45 minutes south of Edmonton. Edmonton International Airport is right in the backyard here. But this is Curling Stadium Leduc. We debuted late last season in March with the Mixed Doubles Players Championship and the Alberta Curling Tour Championship. And now we're here starting the season. This is the Curling Stadium Alberta Curling Series. I think there's something like 16 events scheduled for Leduc this year. So eat your heart out, Alberta. Your teams are going to get tons of coverage this year. So absolutely exciting. Love working with the crew there. You've got Matt Yo and Scott Hebert, Lindsay Makachuk, and oh man, I'm forgetting the name. But the group that's put the Alberta Curling Series together, I know there's been some challenges and struggles to get this off the ground. But really what they're trying to do is turn this into a proper business where the curling clubs get compensated properly, where we find a way to bring in sponsors and build these events, which is what we need to be able to do in order to get the prize purses to where we really want them to be. You know, we want to be giving away way more money at the end of the day for events like this. And now we believe we've got the ability to do it with all this streaming. So Sturmay with the hammer here in the fourth end.
Mm-hmm.
Sturmay throwing the yellow stones. That first rock from Dylan Webster, just sliding back 4 foot there.
Sluchinski throwing yellow.
Sluchinski yellow, yes. Sturmay red.
Just got your classic clog up the middle, and Sturmay did throw a corner guard, but as you can see, it ended up quite high and outside.
But here I love this call. Chip this center guard, get the middle open.
Yeah.
And ideally your shooter rolls in behind the guard. This is what you call the 15 out of 5. You remove the center guard, you throw the winger.
3 shots in one. Well,
Yeah.
I can tell you from a Leeds perspective, to get this variance in shots is very welcome. Get to show off maybe some more skills, build some more skills, and it may make the Leeds give them a better ability to play up and down in the lineup, whereas it kind of did feel like you're a bit on a specialized kind of island playing lead, throwing guards and draws all day.
Yeah, so the center guard's going to go back up. But for Sturmay, there's really little risk of giving up a steal now. You're likely to see them try a couple runs at the double there. If they just peel the guard, so be it. But they've essentially made this a low-risk end just with that little chip shot there. For Sturmay, it would have been even better had they could have hit that a hair thicker, I think. No, it was too much weight is really the problem for getting the shooter in. If they hit that thicker or thinner, one of those 2 shots is no longer in play anymore. But if they threw that a little bit lighter, rubbed it, rolled the shooter in, then even better. So here we go with the run. This appears to be... this will be Kyle During here. Yeah, Kyle During throwing second stones. Kyle from Manitoba played last season with Pat Simmons. And then Pat hung up his shoes again. They convinced Pat to come back for a few months to give the Olympic trials one more run. And then once that chase was over, Colton Lott took over skipping that team, and Pat moved on. And they had Emerson Klimke, I think, was the fifth player part of that group. So yeah, Kyle's moved over as the import player here with Team Sturmay. Won a Canadian junior title with Matt Dunstone. Again, you know, when you look at young Canadian players, here's your example. You know, Matt Dunstone, the player, has managed to make it, but his teammates really haven't. Colton Lott finally got an opportunity to join a team this year, playing with, where did Colton end up?
That's a good question.
Gonna have to look this one up. But Kyle Doring, part of that team, as well as Robbie Gordon. And so the tough part is, you know, players like Dunstone and Tyler Tardy have to leave their teams behind in order to find opportunity with existing more high-profile teams.
Yes.
So again, you leave behind these athletes. When you look at in the United States, Corey Dropkin's team still competing. All good, man. Just keep figuring it out.
Yeah, this is training camp for me. We'll get smooth eventually.
You know, you look at Yannick Schwaller's team, Peter de Cruz's team, all these teams that grew up in Switzerland grew up as existing teams and continue to compete. In Scotland, it's much the same with the young athletes as well. So it might appear like some of our young teams are getting there, but it's really only a handful of the athletes that get there and not the entirety of teams. So the problem becomes even more hidden beyond that.
Mm-hmm. As is the natural progression in these team sports, you know, it's
absolutely, you know, when you look at the way it was, the Canadian environment for curling was where you battle tested your teams. And the old system worked that way when you wanted to create the best team to send to Worlds every year. And now when you're trying to, you know, now when so many other programs are specializing, that environment we have is still a huge advantage.
So JD fought through a pick there, and they were able to carve it. Had about 20 rotations on it. That was quite entertaining. Sorry,
made something out of it. No, all good. That's, you know what, keep it on the game when we need to. But yeah, when you look at some of these teams, where was I with?
We were talking about how players will advance, but their teams find it a little tougher. It is a big training ground, a proving ground, and you have some
Canadian
guys,
sandbox. Yeah.
You have some people that like the change of scenery every now and then. They like to see when they're going to find that magic chemistry, and you have some people that are much more. They prefer to stay with players for longer. It's just preferences. It's just what people think they're going to get out of certain situations.
Yeah. And when you look at what that sandbox has created for Canadian curling, it created the amazing teams and athletes that have gone through the sport over the years. And it's still an advantage to us because when we create events like this, like the event in Martinsville that attract international teams to come to Canada, it's very much been the strategy about building events in Oakville and Southern Ontario in August and September, is that when these international teams come to play, our young Canadian teams get to play in those events too, and they don't have to fly around the world to do it. So that's still a huge advantage for what we have as our opportunity in Canada with the depth that we have. The international teams come over and are utilizing that opportunity for their own training. at the same time, that's good for curling clubs. That's good for events, and that's very good for our teams to be able to stack up against these teams. Like you look at the women's final, which is being streamed same time over on another sheet. Unji Gim from Korea is playing against Selena Sturmay. Sturmay, University of Alberta Golden Bears, young team there. That's a great opportunity for a potential future Scotties champion out of Alberta. So these are the opportunities that we still have in Canada to be able to attract international teams and give our young teams the opportunity to cut their teeth too. First skip stone here of the fourth end for Aaron Sluchinski.
Yeah, got an opportunity here. JD Lind, he made a really nice run back, through the perfect rock, but just a little bit of early season mismanagement. They couldn't quite get the result from the run back. Must be frustrating as he threw it nearly perfect. This one comes just a shade deep if you're being picky. Room for a skipper's deuce here if you can create a freeze-like situation.
All right, I finally got some of all the administrative stuff done, linking all the games and doing all that stuff. And gonna jump in the chat. Anybody watching along, let us know where you're watching from. Please share. We certainly appreciate every share and every that's currency to us. That helps us find new viewers and gets us in front of other fans. So so it looks like 1-1 in the women's final right now. Unji Gim and Selena Sturmay, and of course Karsten Sturmay, her brother, playing Aaron Sluchinski here in the men's final.
This has got to curl quite a bit. They couldn't quite drag it. Light has been the miss on draws so far. And now a situation for Aaron where he decides, what do I want? Do I want to steal 2, perhaps even 3 here and put that kind of pressure on? Or
in that scenario, though, you tend to leave the easier shot for 1 potentially, right?
Exactly, yeah. Which going into this end would have been an acceptable result.
That's all right.
Yeah, my fingers love that button. So more than enough room to pile another one in there. Put the pressure on Karsten Sturmay in the fourth end. Line looks nice on this one. Sweepers on and off. So that's our hint that it might be close.
Give some more of that split screen love.
Let's go.
There we go. Right on in there.
That is exactly where I would have dropped the rock if I was able to just place it anywhere.
So that's a good shot to take away the 3. Although, you know what? There really isn't a draw the other way.
Looking at some type of triple, but I think the rocks are just a little too straight lined up, and it's a jam no matter how you cut it, I think.
Yeah, it looks like a backline waiter though. Right to the nose of that one. Maybe get slightly to the inside. That rock sitting at the side of the 4-foot there.
You would just absolutely hate to wreck that guard on your way around the outturn side. And if that's a spot that he's not very confident in, that's a scary shot to line up.
Yeah, this is a tough decision here.
I'd almost be tempted to take a run at that perhaps triple they were looking at. Worst case scenario,
Well,
you
you're
do
still
give
giving
up
up
the
2
one.
if you don't make a good one here. You hit it too thick. You just get the 1 and you jam it. So 2 is definitely a possibility here.
Absolutely.
The draw, though, is in a lot of cases all or nothing.
Yeah, I don't think they're very confident in that outside path and that corner guard at the
It's
beginning
not really
of
a
the end.
draw. You'd have to throw like back line, back 12 at it to get
Yes.
the line right too.
Yes, to manage that kind of backwards draw hole as well between the corner guard and the center guard. I would be playing this. You know you're going to bang something. Things will get better if you throw this shot. Pretty thin.
Looks pretty good.
And he made it. Oh, it just slips out the back.
Almost for 2.
Wildly entertaining shot there.
Wow.
There you go. I think it was 1 point for Sturmay.
So yeah, that's a heck of a shot there from Karsten Sturmay. Gets a point on the board when looked like a steal was imminent. We will head to the 5th end here at the Curling Stadium Alberta Curling Series in Leduc, Alberta.
Always.
Looks like center guard came up short here, maybe, or a pick out of the gate. That first stone shoved down the sheet, so it looks like a pick. Yeah.
Yeah, kicked it down from the thrower's end.
Yeah. So unfortunate break there for Sturmay. I think middle ends here, it's probably not going to matter too much. So yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to give us a thumbs up there, like, share it, subscribe to the feed. Will let us know when future streams come through, future events are coming through. Your subscriptions, that is what helps us. That is the kind of currency that you can pay forward to us without it coming out of your pocket. So anything you can do to share to your Facebook page, liking and following Facebook, sharing our news stories and all of that content that we're working on generating to try and help promote curlers and promote the sport. That's really the model. Rory, my goal is 100 million page views this season on Curling Zone.
I'm going to help you do it.
It sounds insane, but after getting to 32 million last year and adding in some awesome news writing content, Dylan Chenier and Cameron Saleh put together a great prototype last season where they cut all kinds of stories all year long. And now this year, we're already rocking right back into it and have added a few new writers to the table. Lisa Parent, who her brother playing in this tournament. Lisa's skipping her own team on the Alberta Tour this year as well. Jamie Danbrook has jumped on board. Frank Rock is back. He's been teaching. He taught school last year on an emergency basis in his hometown, so he kind of disappeared from the curling scene a little bit. But excited to see Frank is back with his coverage again. He's going to be writing some stories for us as well, and as well Amanda Pullman and is come on board. And I'm trying to think, we have one more name on there as well, but excited to work on creating this content that helps give each of these teams some exposure. It looks like we have a frozen camera here.
Yep.
Just use the other end camera. This is again the glitches of technology. We're still working through some of this stuff, but the solution for this is just a simple reset of the camera port. And it will be back shortly. That camera just needs to be replaced. So that view should be available again in 30 seconds or so.
Excellent. Thank you.
We've got Megan Edwards on the Facebook chat. Megan is a regular drop-in on all the streams, so it's always great to have her around. And she does such an amazing job supporting and sharing content and feeding it out into the world. You know, it might seem like it's overwhelming at times, but the reality is each one of these teams has its own market, and the more this content gets out, the better it is for curling fans to find their teams and for the teams to gain some benefit from it as well. There you go. You got that view back again.
Yes, we do. Yep, we've got Carolyn Skurlick chiming in. Angelo is saying hello from Cornwall. And Greg Cam. Some compliments for Jerry, liking the conversation about the future of our young players.
So Daphne Hawk from Grand Prairie is tuning in as well, and Megan from Hamilton. Rick Edwards, also another friend of curling. Great to have Rick around too. Miss seeing him at the events. But yeah, we got some rocks in play here. A little bit of stacking in the middle.
Yeah, after a fairly textbook first two ends, gloves are off, both teams making plays, trying to gain control, achieve their pre-end goal, whether that's to steal or force, score two or more.
Kyle During, the new addition to Alberta this season. It'll be interesting to learn all these new lineups and who goes where. And you know what? We're going to see some of these young teams just spike in development this year. You know, 2 years from now, we could see Karsten Sturmay and his team playing regularly on TV in the Grand Slams. They're not that far away from becoming one of those teams. Aaron Sluchinski maybe a little bit behind Sturmay on the rankings and the development curve, but you know what? That's a team. If they could put together a run of good events, that would not be surprising to sneak into the slams and maybe stick it around for a bit. So, you know, these teams are really trying to push up that ladder, earn some early season points, and get into the conversation. Exciting bit for the Alberta teams. The Grand Slam, the Tier 2 championship is in Grand Prairie this year. So Alberta teams are going to be getting a bit of extra incentive to be up those rankings this year, with 5 extra spots usually given to the local region. So really nice draw there.
It's an excellent draw. However, Sturmay's team is very happy with the direction of play in this end. They've got an overlap situation down the middle, and they've got their opponent playing to the forefoot, which in a nutshell would have been their strategy for this end.
Yeah, that redstone top 12 there is definitely available for promotion. Hack waiter, you can probably get pretty close to nose on that and promote that onto that yellow stone. It's just another setup stone here on the other side. Try and block both paths into the rings and shut down this end and try and score a big one.
Yes, every trade of shots between teams. Oh my goodness, that button brings Sturmay's team closer and closer to solidifying a 4-foot kind of setup, and it brings Sluchinski's team further and further away from utilizing those two corner guards they have on the right side there.
Of course, this stone from JD Lynn slides a little deep. That's a mistake, and now here's the out for Sluchinski. He's going to draw a second shot in. The best guard. He'll put this rock into the rings, put it in a position where there's no double, and now the risk is gone.
It's another way of saying that they're somewhat satisfied with how things are looking down the middle. You could pull the plug and throw some hit weight stuff at that center guard and that one in the top 12, but this raises the stakes a bit, as it's likely Sturmay will ignore this stone and continue to chase that one in the 4-foot, unless of course the angles are good for a double, which unfortunately you can see their faces.
Yeah, that's a poor leave, unfortunately, because that leaves a pretty makeable double. They might lose the one red one, but you make this shot, now you're lying 3 in the rings if you're Sturmay. So just the wrong place to be at. You know what? It's August curling. We're seeing some as you call in baseball, some spring training mistakes out there, as you'd expect from these players at this time of the year.
Not the prettiest delivery here.
JD Lind with the in-off double attempt.
Jams it straight. A bit unfortunate of a break. That is very likely thinner than where they wanted to hit it.
Yeah, he hits that a bit thicker. He makes the double clean and stays underneath. And then that jam on the right-hand side would have bounced out of the rings too. So
yes,
a good half shot. You get rid of that stone in the middle. Now you're sitting shot. You still got your counters around the edge there. You know what? If this is still a little bit of scary times here for Team Sluchinski. They got to put this stone in a good place.
Absolutely. Would you ever be tempted to hit and roll on that top 12 rock if you were Sluchinski here?
Well, when you consider the shot Aaron threw in the second end, was it the second end?
Which one?
For the 2, where he tried to play the freeze, right?
Yes.
And on a single Sturmay stone, they are playing the strategy of be aggressive and continue to attack. And it's a strategy you have to learn, and you have to be comfortable playing it, because you're going to make mistakes and you're going to give up big ends. But if everybody on the team has bought into the strategy, the power that can come out of this when you put that kind of pressure on opponents, that's how you beat the best teams. That's how you become one of the best teams. You're not going to hit your way into a grand slam, but you got to be able to figure out how to make good draws and keep opponents under pressure at all times, because that's the only way you beat the best.
Of course.
And obviously when you practice that, sometimes it turns into a disaster.
My temptation would be, if you make a nice hit and roll, lie 2 behind your corner guards, which if you think about how the end started, is almost a miracle that they'd even have that opportunity. You might tempt Sturmay into going all or nothing behind a singular center guard. Might create a situation where you have a shot for 3 at the end of all of this.
Yeah, I think part of the strategy here too for Sluchinski is that Sturmay doesn't tend to be super aggressive. And he tends to play a little bit more of a conservative strategy. So when you're countering that, you then end up needing to be more aggressive against a team like that because they're more liable to play the defensive option against you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're playing an aggressive hammer team, you don't have to be quite as aggressive in order to get more rocks in play and get more opportunity.
A little bit of choppiness from the cameras there, but Karsten must have got quite a bit of curl at the end of that rock to get to the face of this.
Yeah, really good shot
yellow.
there.
He certainly had a wider lane than the Sluchinski stone. So they're able to get an extra few inches of curl out of that rock. Not sure how. Might just be his throw, might be the sweeping, but they
Or
managed
the ice
that well.
that Matt Yo and his team has made here. There's lots of great late curl. And I think the curlers have been pretty happy with that, which is good to see for the games as well. You know what? Looking at, I think he's going to be throwing kind of like a hack waiter here. Wants to get to the nose of this and tap that Yellowstone back. Maybe get to the inside a little bit. Just create an angle so that you can keep that yellow. Even if that yellow goes out of play, it's not the end of the world as long as you're underneath a little bit.
This appears to have enough weight. Waiting for the break now.
Well, shout out to Julie Truscott from Perry Sound.
And that's a very nice angle. It appears Sturmay is still shot rock.
Yeah, looking to play something into the top of the 4-foot there, freeze to the yellow Sluchinski stone.
So, of course, you want to make the shot for 2 more difficult, but what you really cannot do here is shake things around and leave a double for 4. You never want to be thinking about missing as you're shooting a stone, but that is definitely something he needs to be aware of here. I've always thought of it this way. You want to leave the thrower thinking completely about the objective of the shot, the make, whereas the vice in the house needs to call the sweep, making sure that he's not leaving that double.
Yeah, it's some basic human psychology type of stuff, right? Like the idea you tell somebody not to look at something and they're going to look at it. Don't miss the rock out front. You know what? It becomes its own self-fulfilling prophecy.
Of course. This is getting some great curl here. Not gonna leave that double I was talking about.
Can really they roll in for second shot too?
It appears as if it is still only 1 red.
You know what? I think that over curled on them because you think Sluchinski's got a shot to chisel that yellow in for shot for sure, but can you get a little bit of weight on it and move those red ones?
I don't think so because it's tough to tell from here.
Like that yellow,
I think that yellow just shoots right through if you put any weight on it.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want to do that. Pick it clean.
That was one of those ones as that rock was curling in, and the sweepers didn't really know what to do with it. They weren't getting much information from their back end. Everyone was kind of just spinning their broom, just praying it would do what they wanted it to.
I think they're looking at the center rock, that red stone, top 12. Can you run that in
and try to
get both reds and skirt it out the side and maybe get 2 or 3? It's there
to get it as thin as you need, to get that red in the top 4 foot as thin as you need. Would you be risking jamming on that adjacent yellow rock in the side of the 12 foot?
I think it's pretty low risk. You're only going to give up 1 likely. I don't think there's any way you pick your own yellow out, and I don't think there's a way to nut the red on where you give up 2.
It's fairly low risk. I mean, you could, if you went directly onto the yellow and stuck the one you're running in, you might give up 2 in the top of the forefoot. But
yeah, but that's gone then. There's no way that sticks on there, is there?
if you hit it directly on, yeah, I'm not sure. This is early season for me too. I have not watched rocks explode out of houses for nearly 4 months now. It appears they're doing something along those lines, Jerry. The broom is set for some weight.
So definitely use the split screen to grab the splash at the end here.
Okie doke.
This will be a beauty if you can make it. Last stone here, 5th end.
Looks like it's on the guard.
Oh, gets it by. Oh, is it going to stay? For 1.
For 1.
Not quite what they were looking for, but Sluchinski gets on the board with a single here in the 5th end. We're heading to the 6th in the Curling Stadium Alberta Curling Series from Leduc, Alberta. We'll be right back shortly.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
We're back here, 6th end. Curling Stadium, Alberta Curling Series, Leduc. It is August, and we are on the ice with championship curling. Some of the top young teams in the sport competing this weekend in Alberta, joined by a couple of rinks looking to sneak into that first Grand Slam. John Epping came to Alberta, hoping to bank some early season points. Wasn't quite as easy as he had hoped, it seems, eh, Rory?
No, it changed gears quite a bit. Either team thought they had the other on the ropes more than once, and hey, that's curling.
Yeah. So here, Sturmay, Sluchinski, it's the men's championship final. My name's Jerry Gertz, joined by Rory McCusker of Curling Zone and Curling Stadium. Excited to put this together for everyone to be able to watch. We've been here streaming 6 of the 8 sheets in Leduc this weekend, and most of the games have been covered, and looking forward to a busy few weekends to come. Next weekend in Martinsville, Saskatchewan, which is right on the edges of Saskatoon, we've got Jennifer Jones and her new lineup coming out. Silvana Tiranzoni will be there. John Epping, Mike McEwen, Colton Flash, and Chelsea Carey and her new team will be debuting as well. So looking forward to putting out a whole bunch of coverage there. All 4 sheets should look like this or better for the entire weekend. That's our goal. Then, of course, we're back in Leduc for the men's major, September 9th to 11th. I know they've been talking about the field there, a good international field coming out to play there. A lot of the teams from Martinsville moving on to Leduc the following weekend. The women will head to Edmonton for the Saville Shootout, and then from there the following weekend they'll end up in Leduc, where we'll have our major with a bunch of the top women's teams in the sport. So excited to showcase some top level curling over the next 3 weekends beyond this. And then after Martinsville and Leduc are done those early events, we shift into Swift Current for a SAS Tour major event. And then we've got the Western Showdown for the women and the Western Showdown for the men. 32 teams registered for the women's event already. So exciting fields and a ton of games to come out of Curling Stadium by Curling Zone. Going to be busy, Rory.
I love it. Yep, there's no better feeling than getting dialed in, getting all the equipment working just the way you want it, and by the time you're at Saturday or Sunday of an event, you're producing a really tight-knit stream with our coworkers, Jerry, and yeah, very excited for the season to come.
Shout out to John Benton of formerly of Four Seasons Blaine. John has moved on to another organization that works really well for him. Todd Burr, it sounds like, is taking over the role there. But John has been instrumental in putting together this technology and the Four Seasons Curling Club as a testing ground to put this together there in Blaine, Minnesota. Of course, Cameron Rittenauer and Jed Brundage also involved in the project, putting together some of the business and the tech side. Perry Marshall has been instrumental in helping with the project as well, keeping me in line and helping there. James Gordon has been a huge piece of this project as well, driving innovation and technology out of Saskatchewan. And certainly shout out to the clubs now. 9 confirmed coming into this season with Leduc, Swift Current, Martinsville, North Bay, Ontario has cameras up. We're working on our final tech piece there. And then, of course, in the United States, Blaine, we've got Frogtown, we've got Kalamazoo, and Los Angeles, California, Vernon, which is the suburb right next door to downtown. We have the new Southern California Curling Center debuting our cameras as well. Add David Owen and Graham Sloan in Dumfries, Scotland. And they've been a huge help and support with the project there too. So exciting. And I think we've got 2 more U.S. clubs confirmed, but I don't want to put names out there till they sign a contract and get on board. But it's really starting to ramp up. And now we just got to backfill with all kinds of opportunity. You know, it really comes down to we need teams and people in these different places to produce games, people interested in building events and using this technology. For us, it's about becoming like Dome Productions here in Canada on a much smaller scale. But we essentially want to install these TV trucks inside the facilities and make the technology available to any event coming through, right down to the club level. You've got, when you look at Swift Current, one of the things we're testing is roller derby in the summer. And so, I've seen a few curling clubs with roller derby circles around. You know what? I've seen and experienced the culture a little bit, and they sell tickets to these events just like major curling events do. So, there are other revenue opportunities for clubs too. So really amazing opportunity for everybody in the sport. And that's my favorite part of this project is it's not just a small subset of the sport getting the opportunity here. It's something we can spread out and make available to everybody.
Just a beautiful bumper weight hit and roll there.
Really nice touch shot. You know what? Seeing a lot of those down weight shots thrown really well this weekend. That's really what I've been impressed with. Like it's mechanically, it's easy to slide out properly with the hit. And if you can get your draw weight down or get close to it, great. But it's those variations in between that then become the difficult pieces to perfect. And it's been a lot of fun to watch this event all weekend. I've been watching a lot of curling, Rory.
It's also a good test of a team this early in the season to throw those soft weight shots because it requires everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the game in the last 10 years has evolved big time. And it continues to, just with ice conditions getting better. Now the requirements of making great shots becomes more. you have to think about more on a shot. I think one of the things that's going to evolve even more is how many rotations you put on a stone.
Yeah.
Like we see this out of Scotland with Bruce Mowat, where you'll see them throw a variation of rotations sometimes. And you'll get different curl based on that. And it's something that they train. And now they know what they're doing with it. And now they know how to use it in a game. But, it's something there's a piece of technology out of the Dundas Granite. A guy by the name of Brendan Corbett built it. And it's a really cool toy, but it's kind of like the Hawkeye system a little bit. Can identify what rocks are doing. And a competitive player was throwing stones there. And one of the things that she was told was that when she slid out wider, she was just naturally putting less rotation on her shots. Because the system he had built was tracking how many rotations the stone was throwing. And then as you went out, it would keep tracking how many RPMs your rock had going down the ice. And you could tell from this testing that she just wasn't putting as much rotation on as she slid wider. So now all of a sudden you read something out of that, and now you can perfect your delivery even more down all those lines, become even more robotic to the degree you can choose which robot setting you want to use. That's the purpose of becoming robotic, is because now all of a sudden you can decide if you want to be this, that, or that. And that's the piece that, you see these teams that train together all the time get so much better at.
Yeah, no variable left unchecked. I mean, why wouldn't you want to be aware of everything that could possibly be different about your slide and manage that?
A little bit of a cleanup shot here from JD Lind.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I missed something. Did that yellow jam on the side?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where this all sat too.
Because if so, that's determined the fate of this end nearly. If they're looking at 3 in the rings now, blank is completely gone, and you're gonna have to really throw some gas on this fire to get your deuce and 6 here. With all the junk down the middle, even scoring your 1 point is now in jeopardy as well.
Yeah, I think this is one of the challenges. This is the type of end Sluchinski is trying to generate against Sturmay. It's the kind of thing Sturmay's team played it pretty passively, pretty open for the first half of the game. So there wasn't a whole lot of trouble. And now exactly what you're saying. They got a little aggressive trying to get there too. And now this is where Sluchinski's continued aggressive play starts to pay off. Because now there's a whole bunch of traffic down the middle. And they've got the ability to make a mess on them.
Well, that's going to help things considerably. So both guards in the draw path and the center guard all cleared. And it looks like they got a bonus rock and cleared that yellow along the side of the 12-foot.
Yeah, of course, when you get a man to move some granite like that, then problem solved.
Yeah, that was at least 2 shots worth of results in one.
So now it looks
big
like
sigh of relief.
Absolutely. Sluchinski is going to throw up another guard here. They're going to try and protect the shot stone here. But, you have to be careful with this shot. You go too tight, they hit and roll onto the rings, maybe roll under the corner. If you show the wrong side, they're going to dig it out and roll under the corner. So all situations now, definitely the risk has gone for Sturmay.
As a second or a third who's throwing those clearing shots, you want to get your skip in the best mindset that they can be in to make those shots they can make, such as a draw to the edge of the button if they have to at the end of the end. If you've left your skip with no opportunity even to make a nice one like that, it's just a terrible feeling as a second or third. So Lind being able to just clear those negative thoughts out of Karsten's mind, it's a good feeling to skate back knowing you've given your skip the best chance to make the best shot.
Absolutely. And you look at the setup here now, that guard didn't fully cover that shot stone. And unfortunately for the situation, it left the corner guard side open.
Yeah.
So now a nice hit and roll here from Sturmay. He can throw pretty much any weight he wants to at this. So he can, it's so far open that he could even throw like a board to potentially even normal at this. But you expect he'll throw a soft waiter at it, make this roll, and now all of a sudden Sluchinski will be on the defensive trying to prevent a deuce. Hey, we broke the 100 mark so far, which is amazing.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone.
100 watching on YouTube. We've got, what do we got? 20 odd something on Facebook. We're streaming on Twitter. I believe we're on the ACS YouTube channel as well, and a whole bunch of different places. So, maybe a couple hundred people, and we add them all up. Great to have everybody with us. And our website traffic numbers are popping through the roof so far this weekend. Our user total from yesterday, the only day higher before Thanksgiving last year, was the Sunday of the Stu Sells Oakville weekend. So to do that in August is pretty fun. Road to 100 million, Rory. It's going to be the story.
Well, you know what I love seeing is as people are tuning into Curling Stadium, all their multiple windows open as they watch multiple games, taking it all in, taking full advantage of this online live streaming product that, during championship season, people were sending me pictures where they had multiple machines going with multiple windows on each. They're watching multiple events, different games from different events. It's just as much curling as you could ever dream of.
What I really want to build out of this is the ability to bring more traffic into these games afterwards too. Like from a coaching and resource standpoint, imagine being able to search the website for all ends where Karsten Sturmay scored 3.
Yes.
And of those ends, which ones are on video? And we can link directly to the start of ends inside of videos. So that's the piece that, I'm hoping to get up on the website very soon. That, from a coaching perspective or a scouting perspective, looking at opponents, now you can all of a sudden jump in and do all kinds of stuff there.
Even if you're just trying to develop your own game, if you're trying to learn more about strategy, more about why, what the purpose of a double corner guard strategy might be, to see these guys execute these ends where they take advantage of their guards and they use all these tactical situations. It's just so educational.
Oh, and that comes up short.
A little inside as well.
Yeah, just a little bit light and a little too much curl, and that'd be a single point steal for Sluchinski.
Yes.
Couldn't totally tell if there was another Yellowstone under the feet there, but Aaron Sluchinski takes the lead here after 6 ends in the Curling Stadium Alberta Curling Series Championship Final. We'll be right back. And welcome back. We're here in Leduc, Alberta, the Leduc Recreation Center, multi-purpose facility, all kinds of hockey arenas, basketball courts, food court. I can't remember if there's a pool or not, but it's definitely a place to be in Leduc. So the Leduc Curling Club, an 8-sheet facility here, managed Tim's Ice, and his team manages the facility here as well as the restaurant up above. Rory, let's roll in some of our great sponsors here that have been amazing to support this event and help put the Alberta Curling Series on. Obviously, these are our supporters. I can't quite clearly see the names as well as I need to. I apologize for that. Of course, Leduc Curling Club host. These are the supporters who help put these events on, that have backed this project and helped make this possible. We really appreciate the effort and the time and the investment in our curling stadium opportunity that, you know, we can now market to sponsors and sell impressions and ad spaces and do all this stuff. So certainly a huge thank you to all of the supporters who have been part of this project. So now we have an interesting game here. Steal in the 6th end. It's just the worst time in the game from a winning percentage perspective to give up a steal when tied. You move into this situation down 1 with, you're about 35% to win the game at this point. And the problem is if you get forced to 1, you're pretty much in no man's land in the final end. Nope, you know, the chance of stealing is so low. Whereas if you're down 1 in the last end, getting that deuce there's a better chance at doing that. Both teams into it here this end. Double center guards up from Sluchinski. Yeah. Offset. Those 2 stones from Sturmay. They not perfect. No. Them being split apart makes it possible here for I think Sluchinski. It looks like he's going to freeze in the pocket.
Yeah, this intern pocket is wide open.
And you start to create a little bit of a mess in this situation, and that gets in the way of the 4-foot at the end of the end. You know, it's sort of like it's risk and reward at this point. And for Sluchinski, it really comes down to the way they operate this end.
So, yeah, as a player, you're thinking about these percentages. You know how big that steal was in the 6th end, but especially as a sweeper, it's important to put that kind of stuff in the back of your mind. Trust your skip to worry about that. Trust your third to manage the strategy. Just keep watching those paths. Keep watching the rocks. Make sure that you are doing what you can to ensure that the rest of your team has the tools they need, the information about the ice that they need to make the next shot.
I think one of the other factors in this is when you make your push in the game. Like everybody would assume that the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs is where you push all in. But that's your last chance to push all in. Like here's the scenario for Sluchinski. If they decide this is a good spot to make our move, and you know Sturmay's not potentially ready, then the ability to steal one here, or if you get the force, men's teams are nearly 90% in the top 10 range, the top 10 teams.
So this is it.
You know, you get the force here. You put yourself in a 90% win position. It's a, you know, nothing's a lock, but that's you're going to win 9 out of 10 times. You're
seeing this double peel call. Now this is always a sad moment in an end where you don't have hammer. Yeah, it's worth talking about. So they're going to skate down and talk about this one. It's always a sad moment where you get your center guards that you think that you need to have the end that you thought that you wanted. But things didn't work out that way. A few shots later, you're looking at a pretty ugly situation where you're now protecting a very strong setup for the other team. So this is an awkward one in the hack as a second, to be peeling your own center guards when you started the end thinking that's what you wanted. But
sometimes when you push all in, you run up against pocket aces. There are days it doesn't work very well, and you just need to accept that. You know what? Sturmay made some great shots there, and Sluchinski didn't quite execute the way they wanted to. So now they're going to have to take their medicine a little bit here. And you know what? At the same time, they're still up one. And their pivot this early is very mature at the same time too. Because if they can blast from here on out, the most likely outcome is going to be a blank. So absolutely, you know what? I love this pivot so hard, so quickly in the way this was played out. Because you know what? You could have drawn down and bumped those around. You could have drawn down. You could have drawn back four, even just biting the back four, and tried to create a pocket in there and keep playing aggressive. It's not a no strategy on either of those kinds of calls. But in this scenario, you know what? Now they've got how many shots left? 6, 5? 4? You've got
Sluchinski
4
has
hits.
4 shots. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got 4 hit weight shots to make 3 doubles.
Yeah. However, what I always find entertaining about this as well is, as a team with hammer, you don't practice these situations a lot when things have went so well, so many shots in a row.
Yeah.
It almost becomes, what do I even do now? Like I've already created the angles and the tight grouping that I want in the front of the house.
But now you got to protect that tight grouping because it's vulnerable.
Exactly.
I think in this situation, you got to step back and focus on what your objective was to start.
Yes.
And scoring 2 and getting maybe 3 is now what you do. You're not trying to score 4 here. You got to stick to scoring 3. And, you know, you got to be happy with getting 2 here.
Yeah.
Because if you try too hard, then, you know, you get yourself into trouble. Keep it simple still. You know what? That's a good shot, I think.
Of course, yeah. It's even with a properly made run back here, you're very likely only removing 2 stones.
Yeah, but again, 3 doubles, right? 4 shots, 3 doubles. And you know what? If he gets more than 2, amazing. Again, stick to the plan, keep it open. Even if he peels this open.
This has got a lot of weight behind it.
Got to make contact. Ooh.
Yeah. So there goes the intern draw path.
Sturmay does have hammer, though. You know what? Honestly, if you're Sluchinski, I don't think you're totally disappointed in a guard being in play. That might be your saver later.
No, it's just something both teams have to be aware of.
Yeah. So, like, if you're Sturmay now, you have hammer, and now you're thinking about throwing a center guard. And if it's too good,
that's another awkward moment.
Sluchinski is going to go around.
Just as awkward as the moment where you without hammer are peeling your own center guards is you with hammer thinking to yourself, am I really about to throw a rock that could then prevent me?
Like if you're Sturmay, throw hack weight at the pile.
I don't know about hack weight.
Maybe hack. Not quite hack. But I think you need hack to move everything enough.
You don't want to leave any type of hit and roll that is going to give Sluchinski a chance to get underneath some type of overlap.
No, but I mean, the problem with those rocks is they're together, right? So figure out a way to not make them together, like a hit and roll. Like hit and roll underneath the center, move, just sort of bang into the pile and try and get those rocks moved around. because then you're moving the rocks around and fixing that problem.
Yeah.
But then not making it worse for you. Because throwing a guard here could backfire.
Oh, it's something that I wouldn't personally do, but you also have to decide how satisfied are you with 2 points here? Now
The
that
thing is, Rory, chances are this is going to work out just fine, and there's a good chance Sturmay wins the game here with like a 3 or more than 3 because of the way this sets up. But
Sluchinski has a lot of work to do by themselves, and I'd be afraid of making anything easier for them.
I think they have to stop hitting now.
I think you have to give yourself something to freeze to or something to hit and roll with on your next one. I think something has to move around right now.
If you went wide around the yellow, could you get buried back 4 underneath the red stuff? Like hanging off the back 4. I think there's enough curl. And then you create that, then your second shot at worst. Let's be second shot back 4. So they're going to stick to the hitting here. Got to make contact with the red ones now in the rings.
Yes. Similar push, similar throw. And all right.
Much better shot. Though again, for Sturmay now, 2 feels pretty good. 3 is definitely on the table if doubles aren't made. So if you go around the corner here, they're going to make the double in the middle. And then you go around the corner again.
Yeah, the decision is if you want to shake that double up yourself before Sluchinski has an opportunity to make it.
But they're always going to have doubles. That might be a triple now. That is a concern.
The shooter is the one that's really going to save the end for Sluchinski. Oh, I'm struggling with that name.
Four to come.
I think it's skip stones now, yes.
Go to split screen. Use that split screen generously, my friend. And take the logos out.
Use the sponsors. I got it.
Perfect. This is the view that you can jump into all the time.
Okay. Now they're tempted to make it perfect here. They're looking at splitting that top red to create the situation they wish that they had.
I don't think this is a gimme triple. The double is pretty much gimme. But you could make this worse with where you leave everything. You could make it a lot worse, which is why I think going around the corner is something to consider too. Because if you go around the corner, they make double, then you go around the corner again and bury another one on top, you still have a chance at 3. And that's if they make all 3 go away over here.
All right. Nothing to freeze to. Clear double.
That's a really well-made shot.
It's absolutely. It's an understanding that Sluchinski's only got 2 rocks to come. So unless he's going to attack with his shooter, which there's nothing really to attack at this point besides trying to make a double. He's only going to have one rock left to try and bail himself out of this end. Does not remove the second red. However, the shooter is in the correct spot that they wanted it.
Yeah, here's the challenge, right? Sturmay makes a great one. JD Lind with his, or it was Sturmay's first, right?
Mm-hmm. This is Sturmay's first.
This is, okay.
Yes, sorry. Lind had one more.
This is something that I find really interesting in the current game as well. Like you get into games, Jacobs plays a lot of games like this where the strategic hit and rolls. Gushu, this is what they are very, very good at, is that the ends are open, but they hit and roll to exactly where they need to be to prevent these doubles and triples from being made or making them harder. And it's such small differences in where you need to be for greatness versus disaster.
Speaking of disaster, trying to avoid a jam here.
Oh, it's going to be pretty good. Just a little roll in.
So the other thing that does is takes away an intern freeze, which would be the Hail Mary bail shot that Sluchinski may have to get out of this end. Now there's nothing of significance to freeze to.
Like if you're Sluchinski, giving up 3 that's your line. That's got to be your red line. That's where
right now, yes.
You will accept giving up 3 because getting 3 down 2, it's not great, but you see games still won that way.
Now,
giving up 2 would be, they'd be ecstatic at this point to give up 2.
So there is one more Hail Mary. Get me out of this end. Sure. Well, no, it's drawing top 4
around the middle.
Where the third's broom is right now.
Yeah.
So there is a triple where you kind of go across the house. You move all 4 rocks. You intentionally jam that right side of things, and hopefully your shooter gets all the way across the house to push the red on the left there out of the rings.
Yeah.
However,
the other option, you could make that double on the left-hand side of the house from the overhead that we see, and try and spin up underneath the red rock top 12.
Yes.
You could sit second shot, and if you sit second shot, then Sturmay's got a really interesting decision to make. Do we just draw for 2, or do we take a more difficult shot at 3? Yeah, that's what they're doing. It looks like is throwing this little double. I love this call because I think the upside is big here, and it's a fairly easy shot to make. The key is getting the spin right here. Too thin. So you know what? For Sluchinski, you kind of be like, okay, that sucks, but we still got a chance.
Yep, that end went sour quickly.
You know what? Some big-time shots made by Team Sturmay when they needed to make them. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you call the game. If you go make the shots, you're going to win. And so when you make aggressive shots and aggressive plays and you go make them, that's part of these teams' development to keep making themselves better, both tactically and from an execution standpoint. Here we go. Final stone. Right away. Yeah, 7th end here. Karsten Sturmay drawing for 3. The sweepers are working pretty hard on it. Oh, and in it comes. There we go.
Yeah.
So put 3 points on the board. Karsten Sturmay and his Edmonton-based rink lead Aaron Sluchinski's Calgary foursome 6-4. This is the Curling Stadium Alberta Curling Series Championship Final. We'll be right back for the final end.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
Welcome back to Leduc, this championship final. Fairly well-played game between these two teams. Both had opportunities. Sturmay with a dominant 7th end set up quite early by seconds rocks. Sluchinski was really on the ropes, trying to damage control. Ended up keeping Sturmay to 3 points. Sturmay's team trying to set up your basic center line control. Stones, 1 tight guard, 1 top 4, top 8. Fairly well executed there. Double corner guards for Aaron Sluchinski. Aaron wants this one tighter, signifying with his broom, come on boys, bring it right in close to the rings here. And that's what they do. Welcome back, Jerry. Well executed by the leads. Both teams getting more or less what they hoped for out of the lead shots. Sturmay has center line control. Sluchinski has 2 rocks that Sturmay can't hit. So more or less mission accomplished for both teams so far.
Yeah, there's a lot of decision to make here, right? About how aggressive do you get trying to defend against giving up 2. And Sturmay is in.
Sturmay is in. Sturmay is playing this end as if it was tie game so far.
The situation that 5 rock rule changed was this one. There's no other situation in the game that saw a bigger change from the way it played out, because in the past, you just hit here, right? You could have peeled the corner guard. It was an automatic move.
Yeah.
Now, with that rock being protected, it turns this into you have to consider being aggressive in this situation. And that adds a lot of variance to the calls, and it makes it a really interesting situation.
Yep.
And when somebody wins, they're fired up. It's like a 1 in 10 situation at the elite level that somebody is going to win down 2 with hammer. And some teams are better than others at doing it. Kevin Cooey one season was 3-3 down 2 with hammer in the last end. Wow. A 500 record. Crazy.
Yeah, flies.
And I think 2 of those were Bruce Mowat. I think Mowat had some nightmares there for a while. So Kyle Doring, second stones here for Team Sturmay.
Yeah, going after the back one, knowing it's okay if you tick that corner guard, as they do. Bit of luck, they punch their own rock into the ring, so now Sluchinski will have to remove 3 stones in order to count that biter. Did open up an intern path at these red stones.
Hey, Rory, keep using that split screen.
Ah, yes.
Keep 3 fingers on the keys and just dance with it.
Well, I've got 1 finger on the curling zone ad so I can interrupt the end for people. Just kidding. It's first game of the season for many of us.
Yeah. We're all just trying to get into the routine. It took me a few games to get a feel for it even this weekend.
So close. Nearly executed perfectly, but just the wrong side of the inch leaves the yellow stone wide open, and the second red stone stays shot rock. So those are frustrating misses, knowing that you threw the rock more or less how you needed to. But
slightly either way, and you get a better result out of the scenario.
Exactly. Those ones are tough, but that's why precision is so rewarded in this game. It's my favorite Kevin Martin saying is that it needs to be executed perfectly in order to be effective, and that's applicable for many shots.
Now JD Lynn asked to clean this up through the hole.
Sturmay's team feeling pretty confident in their setup. Pretty satisfied with just chasing yellow rocks at this point.
Yeah, they keep making the shots.
Just keep making them go away.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been very impressed with the way Sturmay has played this game out here. It's consistent. You know, this is the battle between being hyper aggressive and a strategy that's a little bit more conservative. Is that you've got to go out and make the shots whatever you do, and it's sort of like an interesting oil and water battle.
Bit of good luck there. Of course, those angles were all planned and they're all aware, but
Yeah, you make that double, you move the stones around, you just try and roll somewhere to keep your shooter in a good place. And for Sturmay, now you got to think about just hitting the yellow one, the open one. Or do you go around the middle and make them chase you?
Well, knowing that you still have a rock that's shot, you're still third shot if you're Sturmay. So even if something went wrong down the middle, you have a bit of insurance where they'll have to, Sluchinski will have to deal with that red one.
A miss here means 2 is on the board, not 3 for Sturmay. Like if they were to miss the next shot. On the other hand, or a miss on this shot, 2 is likely what they would give up. Whereas if that yellow one was in play, then 3 would be more of a store. So here they're playing to win. If you make a good shot, you get this buried under, there's no easy double. Now trying to score 2 is even going to become very difficult for Team Sluchinski. It used to always be, peel the guard. Without doubt, peel the guard. Keep playing to keep it open, keep playing to keep it open. But what the 5-rock rule has forced into the game, and this is why it is the perfect rule, is that it ensures that both teams have to keep playing aggressive in order to win the game. Like nobody can play bailout defense at this point. And so that makes games more exciting and more interesting. And the best teams will still win. This is not giving the advantage to the team who's losing. This is just making it a little bit harder on the team who's going to win. Like Karsten Sturmay should win this game about 85% of the time. Pushing 90%.
Well, yeah.
And he most likely will win this game. But you know what? If the execution fails or something happens, it's exciting down to the end, regardless of who ends up winning.
Absolutely. But Karsten's going to have to make both his shots here. Aaron's looking at a tick and roll or soft weight hit and roll to further capitalize on this corner guard setup that has recently been created with that nice roll on their previous shot. So another challenging ask from his team. That's
go big or go home.
Yeah, what option do you have? It's the end. It's the last end of the last game of the tournament.
This is what August and September curling is made of. It's let's go test ourselves and see where we can push ourselves and go make the big shots in the big moments. Because if we want to be on that stage, we better make the shots. This one, though, not going to.
It's just a very, very delicate. Well, okay, so a slight situation change here where Sluchinski has now
didn't hurt the situation.
No, they now have 4th shot. So it's the old, like, this never ends up translating, but if Sturmay's rock picks or if there's some type of disaster that happens.
There is a very makeable double for the win right now.
Exactly. Yes.
And that came out of the type of weight that Jeremy Hardy threw that stone? Or was that Aaron?
It was the third for
Jeremy. That came out of the weight he threw on that shot. It was something that you could make out of. They were playing the hit. They were playing a soft weight shot to move stones around. When you wrecked the guard, he still made something decent out of it. So it's the game's on the line here for Sturmay. You got to make something good, or Sluchinski has a shot for the win.
And this is the type of risk you run, or the situation that really you should have foreseen, as you make the decision on the first 3 rocks at the end to clog up the middle and try to take control of the center of the rings. You've made a commitment that you're now going to fight for that control the rest of the end, and here they are fighting for it.
So one of the things that we have found with this being aggressive situation is that if you go halfway, it's almost worse than not going at all.
Sure.
Like if you throw 1 center guard and 2 in, and then they make a good run back with hack weight and splash everything around the back of the rings, all of a sudden now there's a whole bunch of rocks in the back that help the team with hammer.
Yes.
And so if you're going to go in to play aggressive to not give up the steal, then you got to throw double centers up too without. Because if the whole goal is to clog the middle and control the real estate, then throwing double centers is the way to do it. It seems even more crazy, but when you do that, their corner guards are mostly useless. And now they're chasing you in the middle, and it turns into a pile of stones in the middle. And it's hard to score 3 in a situation like that.
Sweepers are gunning this one. They are looking to get every inch of curl they can. And it appears they have left a window on that intern side where, if not the double, at least a play on the front one is possible.
Oh, I think it's just enough. Ooh, it's so close.
You don't need a ton of weight to make those rocks go away. This is
hack waiter. Yeah. I think it's there. Hack weight.
Nose would seem to do it. Just inside of nose.
I think you need to just get a hair in, especially with that amount of weight.
Sturmay will have one chance to answer, but even removing the top one and saying to Karsten Sturmay, "Go ahead, leave me any kind of double," and now it's not for the tie; it's for the win.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my new favorite situation in the sport for sure.
So they're predicting some curl. Now they're trying to move it. Well, that overlap is not helping them.
No, but those angles are fine. You can use both those stones onto the back one onto the red one for sure.
Yeah.
The red one is open too. You could pick it. Like you're 2, 3, 4 right now. Your points to win are in the scoring area. You just got to get rid of the other one. So you could throw any stone at that red one right now and be happy. Like you could run the middle, the high red one, right in the middle there. You could come off the yellow. You could.
It definitely did not add options. It in fact took some intern run back options away. That overlap on the left side there.
Yeah.
Regardless,
but I think for Sluchinski, that's a great shot. It sets up all kinds of options, and now Sturmay has to make a good one on this one too. He has to put this in a good place that there's no double, and there's a lot of bad places this stone could end up.
Yep. To be fair though, there is a pretty large zone in the front of the house, where as long as you've tucked the correct side, you haven't exposed the side of the stone that's going to give the double.
And this team has made those shots to finish out this game. They have always put it in the right spot, and that's why they're up 2 right now. So Sturmay's last stone here in the 8th.
It appears he's given it to the sweepers, which is all you can ask for as a sweeper. Let me work this to where we need it to be. Or have I spoken too soon?
It's close. They just got to keep it on this side of the corner guard.
And certainly higher than the other one. And that
I think the question came down to whether that was one of those bad spots I was telling you about.
Yeah. Got caught in between there because
they had to go.
Even if you swept that to the back of the 4-foot biting 8-foot, that actually makes the double harder. Leaving that where it is
even
right
if
now
you were fully in the 8-foot, you would have been good. Because you couldn't run the red in to make that double because it's under the guard there.
So Aaron Sluchinski.
Last stone, 8th end, championship game.
Oh. Hands
right
are up.
Through the gap.
Fists are being pumped.
4 points. Sorry about the camera fuzziness there. But I think we saw all we needed to see. Aaron Sluchinski with 4. The 10%er, Rory. It happens 10% of the time.
What an entertaining game.
Yeah, absolutely exciting finish here. Get that score on the board, Rory. Make Sluchinski our champion. That was a fun curling game to watch, and looking forward to many more of these this year. Rory, thanks for joining me on the stream. I think we're going to have to do this more often.
It was fun, Jerry. Can't wait for the year ahead.
Absolutely. Jerry Gertz for Rory McCusker. This has been the Curling Stadium Alberta Curling Series Championship Final. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be back next week, September the 1st, with the Martinsville Major, Men's and Women's International, here on Curling Stadium. Be sure to watch on Curling Zone's YouTube and everywhere you follow your favorite curling teams. Until then, everyone take care.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.